You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, back dropping in a flash with a Portal Edition episode. Special alert. I'm getting accustomed to these episodes, Chris. I'm going to be calling you in like mid-February. Just, hey, anything going on? You want to talk about anything? Anything happening? As for now, we're back to talk about an addition to your QB room. So always a very interesting conversation to have. And as we have made reference to, this is going to be a really interesting quarterback conversation this upcoming offseason for Texas Tech. And we see an addition made in the form of Wake Forest quarterback Mitch Griffis. So, Chris, tell us a little bit more about how it came together and what kind of role or mold, I guess, they'll be expecting Griffis to fill.
Yeah, so as we have told you that you needed a quarterback, I think people have kind of tried to comprehend like why, what does that mean? What exactly are you trying to add here? Young, old? Is there a mold that you're looking for? I think you needed somebody first and foremost that had some experience and that wasn't. You were going to have a hard time getting somebody really good out of the portal. One, because you've got two good quarterbacks, and I think you've got a 1-2 next year are already kind of set up, Baron Morton and Will Hammond. And I think that you don't want somebody necessarily young and unproven because you've got a highly touted quarterback in Lloyd Jones that's going to come into your program, albeit he is injured as well. But you needed somebody that could, maybe they could play for you a little bit in the spring, obviously, get you through practices, get you, whatever. And that theoretically – in a pinch could get you through a game or spot start if heaven forbid, one of your or both of your guys ahead of him were hurt. So I think this is a direct reflection of Mac Leftwich being hired. You've added Mitch Griffis from Wake Forest, and I may not have every detail exactly as it should be, but I'm pretty comfortable with how I'll present this. So Mitch Griffis has 1 year left of eligibility remaining. He did not play this past year. He last started for Wake Forest, I think 6 games, I guess it was, in 2023. I don't know if it was personal or injury or what was the deal was this year. If he was just going to be done with it, whatever. But anyway, he got in the portal and all that. The Mac Leftwich connection, though, is this is a quarterback that I think Coach Leftwich originally offered several years ago. And so there's been a bit of a connection there, I think. Anyway, that's what I think kind of leads these two parties together, if that makes sense. There was already and again, he started a game at Duke. He's played against Florida State and Clemson, and Wake wasn't very good that year at all. But Griffis had, I want to say it was like close to 2,000 passing yards, 13, 14 touchdown passes, about 130 rushing yards and all that stuff. Again, the goal here is that, and I'm not trying to demean him or anything, but the goal is you hope that he never plays it down. Okay, that's the goal. But he's going to come in with no ego, no illusions of competing for the starting job, although you want him to be as good as he can be. But he's a good kid by all accounts. He's older, he's matured, and he's seen, Power 4 venues on the road and at home and all these things. And I just think this is about as good as you could have gotten here theoretically with your and he, again, 1 year. So next year you'll have, when Barron, graduates, you'll have Will Hammond and then Lloyd Jones, and you'll probably have to go find another, quarterback and all that. So that's kind of, it's just tricky trying to have 2, much less 3. But as we saw just a year and a half ago, you needed 3. You needed 2 in Fort Worth just to get to the end of the game. You're going to need. It'd be nice to have 3 in the bowl game in a at the end of December here, wouldn't it? But because of various things and reasons, that's what you're dealing with. But I think that he's really the main guy they identified. I think he fits exactly what they would be looking for, and there's a prior relationship there that I think makes everybody feel comfortable on both sides of it, and I think he will check that box. The last thing I will tell you is,
first, today's episode brought to you by the College Football Playoff. It's that time of the year. The College Football Playoff is back, and with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the College Football Playoff begins December 21st, starting with the College Football Playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern. Leading into our first matchup, the SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate, live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max.
the last thing I will tell you is this isn't any kind of NIL needle mover. I think it doesn't really factor into what you're doing there. I think that this is, very, very minor from that standpoint. So don't think you're like, I can't believe that no, I don't, that's not what you're dealing with here. So, yeah.
I can't believe they'd spend that money that's
Right.
theirs and not mine in that way.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Appreciate that insight. Before we get out of here, I just had a question. I'm just curious. QB always on the list, like going back into late stages of the season, or were they already thinking about this, or were some of the decisions from Strong or Brown, ones that put it on the list? What do you make of kind of the QB room ebb and flow as far as approaching and then getting into portal season?
Yeah, I think it was probably always on the periphery. I think that Jake and Cam, expedite that. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if I'm just totally closing the door on a Jake Strong situation, but maybe with the Griffis edition, maybe I am now. But I think too, then you have the Zach Kitley versus Mac Leftwich component too. So one thought process could be different than the other, or on what practice needs to look like, or how we're going to utilize these guys, or what we need, or with measurables and size and skill sets and all those kinds of things. But I'd be willing to bet you that there may not be a year that goes by that you won't be able to use somebody in this mold every year via the portal. Hey man, if you want to come finish it out and you can help us, and you're not under any illusions, and you've got some experience, or you've been in a program and you had some upside at one point. I mean, I think there's probably always going to be room for something like that, because these guys are going to be theoretically kind of hard to find that are okay with everything that I just described.
I'm going to go ahead and apply that no illusions to everybody too. We don't need any illusions. Nobody with illusions need apply. All right, Chris, appreciate a little extra time to chop this one up as another one signs up to be a Red Raider. And I know the work is not finished, so we will get together again. At what time? You can never quite tell. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss one. Appreciate it, and we'll see you for the next one.
Sounds good.
And also hit the show notes, find the link to the Matador Mob if you're interested in a free 14-day trial. One of the other ways to keep up with the ever-spinning portal wheel, as we're keeping a lookout at all times, and that's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. We appreciate you being out there and hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.